welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, a weekly show about the entrepreneurial journey and making it big in any industry. We're your hosts, Joe White and Kane Daniel. Today we have Edward De Juan with us. Welcome, Edward.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to have you with us. Edward's a versatile talent with expertise in numerous fields. He has over 17 years of experience as a licensed life insurance agent, specializing in tailored solutions, building trust-based relationships, and simplifying life insurance complexities for his clients, which is vital in this type of industry.
Yeah, and interestingly, Edward also has a quite impressive portfolio as an artist. So he is an actor, producer, writer, music composer, dance choreographer, fight choreographer, and also a singer and rapper.
Oh my
Edward,
goodness.
which is really cool. Yeah, so that's quite a resume. So we definitely want to hear more about that. But first, Edward, welcome. Thank you for being here. Maybe if you can, just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe sort of your origin story. I know you have, it sounds like a really interesting life.
Yeah, I just immediately felt inadequate.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. Well, my main thing is, like you said earlier, I am a licensed life insurance broker. I've been doing that for 17 years. I joined the industry roughly around 2006, 2007-ish. I just came straight out of university, and I was working at, like these different type of insurance companies. And then I just moved around, bounced around. How I got in the industry, though, was...
What prompted you to get... Sorry to cut you off. What prompted you to get into the life insurance and work for a life insurance company right out of university?
Just approached by a recruiter at a different agency. And, I was just like a young 20-year-old, and then they just... Basically, their pitch was just really good. They just pitched the dream of, would you like to run your own office? Would you like to be an entrepreneur? Would you like to have people working under you, go on endless vacations? And, when I'm a university student, I'm just like, oh, wow, that sounds amazing. So I joined in, just got my feet wet with that other company and just learned the ropes. And then I just felt like I needed to change in the structure of what it was that I was looking for. So then I just moved from company to company. I was working at Rogers, at a telemarketing company during that time. So that was my full time, and I was just doing insurance on the side. And I just remembered testing it out. But then I just remember my first paycheck was it was like $3,600 off of like one client. And then at that point, this was during a time when minimum wage was like $8 an hour, $9 an hour, and I'm a student university. So when I get a paycheck like that in 1 week's work, I was just like, oh, okay, what is this? Let's explore this more. Let's explore this option a bit more.
You were hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked. So then this was roughly around, I think it was like September of that year. But I thought, okay, that might have been a fluke, but let's see how the rest of this goes. And then, so I was still working at Rogers. Then I remember I finished off in December of that same year, so it was 4 months, and I just totaled commissions of roughly around like $28,000 at that point. So I know that's like not a lot of money today, but during that time when I was a 20-year-old student working at Rogers, I pretty much made in 4 months what I was making the entire year. So that was the point where I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to jump into this full time. So then I just quit Rogers, and then I just took the leap into being a life insurance advisor, and been doing it ever since. And now, 17 years later, like, here I am still with the same company. I bought my first property when I was like 26, 27. And from that point on, I've just been going on endless vacations here and there. I travel roughly around like 4 or 5 times a year. I recently just got back from Korea, Hong Kong, China. I just went to Cancun earlier before that. A few months before that, I went to Japan. So that's just how I tend to live my life right now.
This industry that really provides is that flexibility to be able to travel and still potentially work and not have to physically be necessarily in the office or in any geographical location. But I'm wondering, Edward, what is it that you did early on to find such amazing success in your first several months? What were you doing?
Well, I was a part of, I guess you can say that a lot of my hobbies was very interconnected into my business because, like you said, I was also an actor, I was also a music artist, I was a dance choreographer. So in a way, I was a part of like all these different groups. So whenever I go to dance practice, and then I get all my dance members as clients, or when I'm auditioning for a movie, and then I meet all the other actors in the room, and I start telling them, I do insurance too, and also just around school, like a lot of my classmates, I was just networking left, right, and center, and just approaching anyone that I can see. Yeah, and then it just grew from there.
Definite lesson on making sure that everybody knows who you are and what you do, even in your social life. I'm sure you didn't ram it down anybody's throat or anything, and just as long as they know who you are, right? And then, did you find that like it was just a nice soft introduction, a nice easy way to maybe sometimes get into the conversation without making it like a hard sell or, hey, do you need insurance? You just let them know this is something else I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I won't say that it was all a success. I mean, in the beginning, because I just started in the industry, so in a way, I kind of was ramming it down people's throats. But then it comes with the industry. A lot of people were turned off from it, but then some people wanted to listen. So it was a hit or miss, but it was really just a numbers game.
Now, when it comes to life insurance specifically, I know a lot of people when, I've been at parties or at events when someone says, "Oh, what do you do? I'm a life insurance agent." And I see some people shying away, and it's like, I don't really want to have that discussion. How did you overcome that, or how do you overcome that? That sort of initial maybe shock or response from people when they see, oh, this is a life insurance broker agent?
It hurt. Because that was all I did. And unfortunately, sometimes you burn bridges by doing that. So over the years, with a lot of trial and error, I just got over that hump. And now I feel like I've reached a point where every time I go to an event, I don't even mention insurance anymore. And I sort of evolved my strategy over the years where, luckily enough, people are actually asking me now. So these days, my approach is I just came back from Ottawa this last weekend. I was at an event, and then I was I was at a music festival, and I was just talking to some guy, and then he just saw me, and he just looks at me. He's like, "Hey, do you work out?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do. Do you work out?" And then we started talking about working out. And then all of a sudden we started talking about music. And then all of a sudden the conversation was just comfortable and casual. And it just evolved into, "Oh, so what is it that you do?" It's like, "Oh, I work in life insurance." And it's like, "Oh, I've been meaning to get my life insurance." And I'm like, "Oh, well." In the middle of the festival. And then I just spoke to him. And now I have an appointment scheduled in for tomorrow, actually. And then that's just like a normal day-to-day with me nowadays. It's just I'm always just going to just big events, and sometimes you just don't even have an agenda. You don't even plan it, and then things just fall into your lap. And I guess you can say I've been very blessed and lucky that things have just been coming my way.
I don't know if you should sell yourself short on that. That blessed or lucky is maybe, but just because you enjoy what you're doing doesn't mean that it's not hard work. I mean, it's not hard work for you because you enjoy what you're doing. But for others, networking, thinking of this as, hey, I am networking, because that's really what you're doing, right? You're networking, but you're doing it in such an authentic, organic way that everybody feels at ease. So that's brilliant.
I think that's the key thing, is that I actually enjoy doing what I do.
Right? I mean, you have to know your skill set as well, and your craft, and you're obviously good at what you're doing for getting your clients what they need.
No, of course, that's the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
And so, Edward, you said earlier You said earlier that I think it was a numbers game, and you burned bridges, and it sounds like, kind of the word that we throw around a lot recently is resilience and discipline. Was there any strategies that you had to maintain that resilience after burning bridges, after getting no's, after getting ignored maybe by people? How did you cope with that?
I don't know how I dealt with it, actually. I guess it's just built in my personality.
Did you just keep pushing forward?
Yeah, I just kept pushing forward, and I guess I just had that mindset, that determination that I just gotta just keep going, because I think I just always held on to that first sale I had, and with that first big paycheck. So that I would always add that in my mind, that there is potential. You just got to keep going at it, because there's been times where I've gone through 6 months without a sale, and usually at that point, people would just give up at that point. But I just kept remembering that first feeling when I got that first paycheck, and I'm like, it's out there. I just got to find it. And then I just got to keep hustling and just keep going and just never give up. Because eventually, I just kept telling myself, you know what, like, this is going to work out. This is going to work out. I got to keep going.
So what do you think, Edward, what do you think maybe sets you apart from other, like maybe young entrepreneurs coming in to this industry or other industries like it? What do you think sets you apart? What do you think attributed to your success?
Maybe the fact that I listen to clients. That's one thing that I've always took pride in, because every time I see a client, and then I hear this from them, and they're always saying like, oh, like, you're the best agent I've ever done with, because you're actually like listening to what I need. Because I will feel that traditionally most advisors would just go in and just tell you what you need, or they come in there with this sort of arrogant attitude, and then they say, oh, you're going to need this. This is for your own good. I go in there without a plan at all, and I just ask the questions that need to be asked. And sometimes I guess clients just feel comfortable when I'm working with you versus just taking over and just saying, all right, this is where I'm going. You either come with me or you don't. But if you don't, good luck. I don't really take that approach. I'm always just, I love what I do, and I love advising people, and it actually warms my heart when I'm actually successfully helping them. But I feel like in order to do that, you have to ask the client, what are your goals and how we can accomplish that together. And I think that's like a part that really, I can't speak for all the other agents, but I feel like that is my strongest weapon.
That's fantastic, and that comes through obviously with clients giving that type of feedback. That I gotta think that's probably one of the most important, if not underused skills or underperfected skills that people have, which is just sitting back and listening to what your client is saying, and then just exploring the conversation from there and how you can help. I mean, I think that's a vital piece of advice for anyone coming into an industry, is that you have to listen.
Yeah, most definitely. The way I was trained was, can you believe it or not? Like, when I first started in the industry, I was an introvert. It was very hard for me to talk to people, but I had such great, amazing trainers that were basically listening to me and asking me how I wanted to be trained versus just following their regimen, because I feel like the industry follows a very one-size-fits-all type of training styles, and some people can hack it and some people can't. So the way I was trained was, okay, this might not be working for you, so how do you want to be trained? And I'm just like, maybe I just want to sit back and watch. And then when I'm ready, then I'll start talking. And then when I'm ready, I'll go into the field and just jump right in. But then when I jump right in, there's going to be a lot of failures coming out of that one. But I just feel like the training has evolved because, believe it or not, I just feel like over the years, the industry has become a bit oversaturated with a lot of unqualified advisors per se. And I don't know. I just feel
Hmm.
like the more people that are being untrained, it makes it harder for the real advisors to really tap into the market, kind of thing. You
So
get what
you
I'm
think that
saying?
lack of training is kind of on the MGAs, and what they do as training is too cookie cutter compared to how you were trained?
Uh, Sometimes, yeah,
See, when you start,
yeah,
yeah, no, it's an interesting point when you start thinking that the
yeah,
training goes both ways, right? To get to
yeah,
know an advisor, how they learn, what they're
yeah,
comfortable with, how,
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
everybody has their own personality, and you've done extraordinarily well, um,
yeah.
given your background and your personality. That's really, you've been able to shine that through, and it sounds like that training initially that let you do that was a big part of that.
No, I feel because the way I was trained was like it was more one-on-one. So I had like a personal coach that was basically holding my hand throughout the entire time. But then now, like, there's companies that just want to do recruiting in the masses, and when they train them in this whole class setting, assuming that everyone is up to speed. But then sometimes you can just have, when you have a class of 10 people and you're trying to train them, maybe three of them are listening, the other seven are just lost, but they're too scared to say something. So I always feel like that one-on-one coaching was like the thing that really got me going in the industry, because I was being critiqued on my presentation. I was told, don't do this, don't do that. So I had that real bond with my coach when I first started. I mean, I still go to my coach for questions of things that I don't know, and surprisingly enough, because we've both been in the industry for this certain amount of time, it's like sometimes when I ask him something he doesn't know, or sometimes when he asks me something, it comes to a point where I feel like I know more than him at some point. And but at where I am at in the stage in this point of my career is I'm actually now I have my own team and I'm the one coaching them one on one. So I'm basically paying it forward the way I was trained and teaching my team now the way to become at our levels.
Yeah, how many do you have in your team right now?
I have four directs and they have
Perfect.
their
So
own
you
director. Yeah.
find that you can give them that time and that mentorship. They must really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, no, and I even go beyond. I even add extras on top of that because the way I was trained was just one-on-one coaching. So what I do with them is I also give them the one-on-one coaching, and I also do a weekly class with them. And we go through strategies, and we do some role playing. And if anyone's nervous, I ask them to practice on me. Then I'll give them the real rebuttals, and then we just go from there. Being an artist is also connected to performing. So, when you're a performing artist, like when I was making music, I was always doing shows, and sometimes when I'm acting or when I did theater plays, you're acting in front of an audience, and sometimes the audience loves it, sometimes they don't. There's been times where I've been booed off stage for forgetting my lines on stage, and at the time it hurts, and you just feel embarrassed, but then and it's sort of interconnected where it's sort of like a numbers game. The more times you get rejected and booed off, or you get booed off stage, is like similar to that as many times as you get rejected when you're trying to close a sale and then you don't. But then I guess the more times you do it, the more it stops bothering you, and it's just you just feel more relaxed. So I would say a lot of the failures are what really got me going to the level of, I would say, confidence that I have now.
Wow.
Well, from the music perspective, it's more so just a hobby at this point now. But I remember in my early
Hmm.
20s, I was in the studio. I was just making song after song after song and just sending it out to whoever was listening. The normal 8 mile route from the movie, and yeah, it just didn't
Right,
really
right.
work out as much as I'd hoped. But it taught me a lot of things, like especially with the rapping thing and the freestyle rapping. I think that taught me a lot of improv, and I think that really helped me with my sales as well, because sometimes you just don't want that dead silence. You just got to keep talking and talking, find segues, and it's, for me, sales is the same thing as performing on stage.
Yeah, and talk about resilience, right? You have to have that resiliency to. I mean, it must have been. I mean, for me, I think I would look at that and say it's soul crushing getting booed off stage. You had the ability and like that fortitude to turn and go back and just keep doing it, and that's something I think a lot of people miss out on. That you have to take no's, right? It's going to take.
Yeah.
If you do your numbers, there's a specific number of no's that you get until you get that yes, and you get asked politely to leave the stage, and then you keep going back.
Yeah, and in a way that sort of just shaped me who I am, because nowadays, like, if I get someone attacking me like verbally, or sometimes you have like banter with your friends, and sometimes you just got to have those quick responses right there.
It comes across in your interactions with people, and I think that's one of the main reasons, at least a large one, that people really love doing business with you, and why you're so successful. You're an easygoing guy, and you've always, from what I've heard, struck people as easy to talk to. So that's really important. I think that you look at this industry or your profession as something you're good at and that you can enjoy, and travel. Oh my goodness. What is the most exciting place or the most interesting place that you've been to recently?
Recently, I think Asia was a bit of a culture shock to me when I went there, especially China.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was just a complete, and I never realized how advanced they are in China, because I went to go visit my wife's family there, and then sometimes when you're just walking around, there's just 5 cameras pointed at you every 5 feet. When you go into a parking garage, it's all facial recognition, and then they just scan your face and say, "Oh, this is you have this much credit. Use the credit. Open the parking garage." They don't deal with anything cash there, and I'm just walking around like, "Oh my god, this is crazy!"
Wow.
And yeah, and right now I'm booked up to go to Europe in about 3 weeks, so I'll be there for about 10 days.
Amazing. Whereabouts in Europe are you going?
Starting off in London, I'll be there for 2 days, and then I'm going to go to Amsterdam and for 1 day, and then we're going to Belgium for a music festival, and then ending off the trip in Barcelona for my wife's birthday. So I booked her this Michelin star restaurant and for her birthday, and then then I'll be back.
Amazing.
In August.
Oh, I hope you have a great time. It sounds like you're going to have a great time. Wanted to get your opinion on this. AI is all over the place right now. How do you see, or do you have any thoughts on how AI is going to impact the insurance industry? Are you seeing its impact yet?
Yeah, actually, I've seen like little bits of it. I mean, in my honest opinion, I think it's going to take over the industry, in my opinion. Well, not in a sense where it's like the brokers are going to be obsolete. It's just that because I've seen a lot of implementation of AI into a lot of people's businesses. There's a lot of brokers I know that have their own website, and they have these little chatbots set up. And the chatbots are actually doing the appointments for them, and it's just like pre-screening the client all the way up to the very end, where the broker pretty much doesn't talk to the client at all until the very end when you need their code to process the transaction. But everything's all been completed already. And to me,
wow,
that's amazing, but also scary at the same time, because like, oh my gosh, I got to get on this AI trend fast, otherwise I could be out of a job.
Yeah. Well, do you think there's still going to be that necessity for Well, maybe like the necessity for that personal connection with individuals is maybe where, and I'm just thinking out loud here,
Yeah.
the online chatbots and the AI can deal with, kind of like cookie cutter situations where somebody just needs some, term life or something like that. But when you're starting to talk about business owners or other types of insurance that are a bit more complicated, do you think that it might be the industry might be shifting towards more interpersonal relationships with maybe larger clients, while AI can deal with the smaller ones? Or do you think that's a trend?
I could see that happening, because there's always going to be that would rather talk to a human instead of like a robot. The question is what would be the ratios of it? And over time, maybe you could see like a slow decline in that sort of need, but we won't know, and because we're still fairly new in the whole IA trend tech already. So, but it's rising at a rapid rate. So it's who knows, really.
So you'd suggest getting in front of that and incorporating it into your business?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Like not incorporating it to be at the forefront, but at least being able to navigate it and keep up with the trends just in case. Because if you don't, like, what if one day there's just a hard shutdown of the broker community, and then you're gonna have to. It depends on your learning curve of, all right, this is the new thing, like learn it today. But then if you're already ahead of the curve, then okay, shut it down. I'm already ahead.
Yeah, I've got this scary image of like a guy in his underwear in his basement of his mother's place, being a life insurance agent, just for programming websites and I gotta wash that out of my brain.
Yeah,
I think in essence, people like dealing with people they know and they trust for the most part, right? And if you can get that relationship started, which is what it's so important to go to events and meet with people and then have that connection. I think the personal connection. Maybe you're right. Maybe in a few years you're going to be able to look at a screen and Edward, I won't know if it's you or an AI version of you, and I'm having a wonderful conversation, and you are in Barcelona.
Yeah, that's another thing that you should probably be worried about.
It's scary.
Yeah, like all these deep fakes that is happening these days. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you're right. It's something that we have to stay on top of, and you either embrace the new technology or you're still riding around in a horse and buggy and wondering where all the stables are.
I mean, even with my business from the start, I mean, we started off just driving to meet with clients in like the comfort of their own home, and sometimes I would make that drive sometimes outside of GTA, and like even with the fear that, okay, I'm driving on this far to Belleville, but I don't know if I'm going to get this sale or not. But then nowadays, with the whole virtual thing now with COVID and everything, it's just, I would say it's sort of made the industry easier, but then this is just phase one. But then now phase two is the whole AI coming to take over. So
now that if a client's willing to do a Zoom, maybe they're willing to do a virtual AI. I think that COVID really broke down the barrier of doing things virtually.
Yeah, and it also helped though with expansion as well, because back in the day, like we were very limited to only like Belleville is the farthest that I've ever traveled to have clients. But then now with the access to virtual, now I can access all of Ontario. So it's sort of helped a lot.
And that's you embracing technology, right? I mean, before COVID, there were probably a lot of advisors who didn't know about, weren't comfortable using Zoom or anything else like that, the precursors to Zoom. You tell us you're in the office and we believe you, but we have no way of knowing that. That could be a green screen behind you. You could be on a beach somewhere. I'm going to listen close for the sound of the waves.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Well, it's a brand new office, but I decided to book one of the rooms, so that's a real painting in the back.
Okay. Well, Edward, like Kane was
yeah.
saying earlier, it's been a real pleasure talking to you and learning about you and your business and your passions for the arts, and we wish you continued success. And I know your team is going to continue to benefit from that mentorship that you're paying forward. So again, thanks so much for being with us today. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure talking to you guys too. I mean, this was fun.
Awesome.
Right. Yeah. Right now, I'm just in the middle of creating my webpage, which is lyledejuan.com. I mean, if you go to it now, you're probably going to see a lot of construction going on there. I just had my page created at ia.ca/lyleedward.dejuan. And you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on my business page, or you can follow me on my personal page. My business page is at Lyle De Juan at Instagram, or my personal one at Eddie De Juan. And then you'll see all my vacations and traveling all over the world. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the $1 Billion Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
For more in-depth entrepreneurial insights, follow us on social media, and for more info on the show, go to billiondollarpodcast.com.
See you next time.